Right, ladies and gents, I'm recording, so if you restate this, if you don't want to pay any attention to the video, you're 100% happy, then you have to work on your own in quiet stuff. Okay? So, let's just have a quick look. So we are trying to set up these equations and then we can solve it. Right? So, in the first example, okay, we have a balance, right? So we have this balance, and basically from the picture we know that it is balanced because it's flat. And on one side, we've got some weights. So we've got a balance. Now, we've got some information here, and I'm not going to draw the pictures, the bags and weights and things, but on the left-hand side, I have some unknown packages. I don't know what they weigh. Okay? So I'm going to represent them with something that could be changed. So a variable, so we're going to use a letter. What letter would you like to use, Kate? D. Okay. How many D's are there on that left-hand side of this problem?
4.
4 of them. Okay? So I've got 4 D's. So I'm going to write, I have 4 D's. And on the other side, how much weight is there? 8, whatever it is. So I've got 8 lots of 1. So I've got 8. Now I know it's balanced, so I can write my equals. They must be equal in weight. Okay? Now, from that picture, which is what they're trying to get you to, is this. Now, it's quite clear that there are 4 D's separate, and the weight, 8 things, has to be balanced by them. So, we've got to work out, if I want to know if I only had 1 D on the sides, how much weight would balance that?
2.
And how do you know that?
It's 8 ones, and then balance the 4 D's. So it must be 2 in each D.
So we are doing what mathematical operation? Timesing, dividing, adding or subtracting. What are you doing with the 8? What, anyone, mathematical operation, if I get to 4D, 4 lots of D, 4 multiplied by D, or D multiplied by 4 equals 8. What do you actually do with the 8? What would you physically do if you had all that on the table in front of you? So if you think about it in terms of the actual weights, it doesn't, yeah? What would you do, Aidan?
You divide it by 4.
Divide it, wouldn't I? I'd share it out. I'd take my 4 packs, right? I'd separate them, and then I would split the 8 equally between the 4 packs. So that is doing 8 divided by the 4. So I would do the 4 divided by the 4 to make 1D, and 8 divided by 4 gives me 2. Okay? So I know that one of those unknowns is worth 2 of whatever weight it is. B then, let's have a look at B together first, before I let you carry on. So, we now have unknowns and weights on both sides. So I'm going to put my equal sign, and what do I have? What would you like to call the unknown, Jasmine?
The 2.
N?
I mean,
No, you use what you like.
oh,
N, N. We'll call it N. How many N's do we have on the left-hand side? 2. But I also have 7 weights. So I'm going to add 7. That's on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I have how many?
5.
5 N's plus, there are definitely 4. Okay. So now if I want to solve, imagine again that I am lifting things off the balance to keep the balance level. And you're taking things off. Right? So this is very different from what some people do with algebra, where they move from side to side and change sides. It doesn't make sense. When we're dealing with this, we definitely take stuff off the balance. So what can I take away to start with and maintain the balance? Ava? I can take away 2n's from the left-hand side, yeah? So if I take away that 2n, what do I have to do to maintain the balance? Do the same thing to the other side. So what am I left with? Well, that's gone. So I'm only left with 7 weights. I'm left with 3n's plus 4 weights. Now what can I do? Let's do a bit more algebraic working. Well, what can I get rid of first? Azra, control yourself, please. But the 3 is not a 3, is it? It's how many n's I've got. So I can't take away the n. If I take away 1n, I'm left with 2 n's. So take away 4. If I take away the 4 weights, I have to do the same on the other side. So I'm left with 3 weights on that side. And I've still got the 3 unknowns on that side. So now I'm back to what operation? Division again. I'm sharing it out. This time it's nice and easy. So if I divide it all by 3, both sides, I'm left with 1n must be balanced by 1 weight. Okay? C then. So what have I got? Jasmine?
So
N if we like. Plus 3 equals 2n plus 1. Okay? Okay then, what can we get rid of first? Think of it as weights, unknowns and weights. Get rid of the 1, okay. So I can subtract the 1, that gets rid of it. Got to do the same there. That n plus 2 and 2 n's. I'll say again, the 2 is not a 2 on the right hand side, it's an amount of n's. So what can you do now, Cade? Well, can I take the 2? Have I got one on the other side to take?
Yeah.
Haven't. Like I said, this 2 is not a 2, it's how many n's I've got. So what can I take away? The n. This n, yeah? So if I subtract that n and get rid of it, I'm left with 2 weights. What am I left with on this side? Nope. What did I do?
Oh, you took away that. So you're left with 2.
No, I've got 2 n's. Take away an n. I'm left with an n. Just 1 n, yeah? Remember, be very careful. That 2 is not a 2. It's how many n's you've got. Because I need to know how many n's there are. What I mean is, the 2 is not a 2 in terms of the weight. It's not a 2 that I can remove. It's a 2 in how many of something else I've got, yeah? I could also rewrite that as 2 equals n plus n. Does that make it easier to understand? So now if I subtract an n, okay? So this was n plus 2. If I subtract an n, that one goes. If I subtract an n, I'm left with an n. And that's the answer, right? I've got 1n is 2, straight away. Finally then, this was one Aidan was having a few issues with, and this actually adds a bit of, you can say common sense, but maybe a bit more logical thinking at the end. So we write it. Desmond, go on then. No, D. We're on D now. Not. We've just done C.
So 3D plus 2.
Yes, well, okay. 3D plus 2 equals
1D plus 2.
1D plus 2. We're on D's now. We've gone back. Stefano. This leads us to a little bit of confusion at the end, but actually when you realise it, it's a common one that confuses people. What can I do first?
Take away the 2 on
Take away the 2's on both sides. And this is the thing that confuses me, not me, a lot of people to start with. What am I left with? 3Ds
Equals D.
equals 1D. Now,
Was an answer.
well, there is now only one way that this can be true. If I take away a D on the right-hand side, what am I left with?
0. No.
0. Good. If I take away that side, I have to have
3.
2 Ds.
So it's 0.
And so the only way this can be true is if D is 0. So, yeah, you can divide by 2, but again, if 2 Ds, and if you think about it, the way they've done the question is quite nice, because their unknowns are little bags. Yeah? And the little bags have got no weight to them, unless they've got something in them. So you know that if I've got 3 bags and 2 weights, and 1 bag and 2 weights, and they balance, the bags must be empty. Yeah? So a lot of people forget that that is a possible answer, that the unknown is 0. Alright? And they get to that stage and they go, but 2Ds is 0, what am I going to do? What can I do? Well, that's perfectly acceptable. Yeah? Even they get to this stage where it's 3Ds equals 1D and they go, I must have made a mistake. Because that can't be true.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah? Must have made a mistake. But actually the case is that if this is it, the answer is 0. And you wouldn't believe how often that is actually the case.
So the whole answer. Okay,
So the answer is, the unknown is 0, yeah. Right, that's a very important one. Rightio? So, for question 2, carry on. Alright? But this time, there are no scales pictures, but that's the way to start to keep thinking about it. Alright? And eliminating from each side. And can I just say, guys, when it says show all your working, even if you think it's just common sense involves doing some form of calculation in your head. You have to get in the habit of writing that down. However simple and basic you might feel it is, all right, you have to get used to writing it down. All right? Showing you're communicating your maths in some way. Is that all right for everyone? You can carry on? You can carry on now?